Alright, truth be told, I don't actually like this trend. I just feel like a tier list would be the best way to talk about builds in Arcane Odyssey, because it gives me a spotlight to highlight the best and the worsts of every build. Unfortunately, the reason why I do not like tier lists is because it's competitive, don't you think? A lot of ratings when it comes to tier lists is it's either S tier or it sucks. That's how tier lists are built. And a lot of the time, people like to clickbait tier lists by putting bad things on the top and the good things at the bottom, for people to say, "Oh, hey, you put the best thing at the bottom? Why?" So here's my much more boring and much less clickable version of a tier list that I modified personally for my own enjoyment. I shall take the builds and I shall put them in numerous categories, being either good for PvP or good for PvE / completing the main story, because that is a major part of Arcane Odyssey other than the whole endgame thing. There are two types of PvP in Arcane Odyssey. There's dueling PvP, such as Elysium, where people invite others for a personal one-on-one duel, and it builds that focus on attack speed, and combos are usually favored for duels. That, and of course, kicking out the person you are currently dueling in Elysium, so that way they'll combat log and you'll take all of their renown, which is actually how a lot of people farm renown in Arcane Odyssey. With the release of the Kingdoms update, planned PvP has become much more popular, which favors attack size and damage. Not much combos, but more not getting hit and hitting as many people as possible. There's best for PvE, such as bosses, which is very different to dual PvP, because dual PvE, you cannot grab bosses, so a player has to do a completely different strategy when it comes to farming / taking down bosses. Then there's best for PvE / exploration. Take, for example, the best build that would help you the most in the Dark Sea. A lot of builds would do that. A lot of builds would help you in the Dark Sea. Because when it comes to the Dark Sea, all you can do is just put all your points into agility. Which kinda doesn't make sense, but I needed a slot to fill, so we got best for PvE / exploration. And then there's best for beginners, such as completing the story. The builds that would be the best for a beginner to play as, because it's not as confusing to build your build. It's easier for you to play through the main story, and it's easier for you to unlock PvP potential faster without having to reach the maximum possible level. PvP, you know, self-defense, in case a low-level RKO comes and destroys you. Also, I forgot to mention about All-Rounder. Technically, every class goes into the All-Rounder thing. I should have added best for All-Rounder. For example, a Mage would be a good All-Rounder, because not only is it the best magic for beginners, being a pure build, which means you put all the points into magic, which means it's easier to unlock spells faster, which makes it good for beginners. But Mage is also good for clan PvP, because it can create the biggest explosions out of the entire game. Yeah, nah, I don't expect you to expect how this tier list works. Just let my voice guide you through the whole process, and let me just talk about builds, because that's the reason why I'm making this video. And of course, I have face cam out, which is going to help me a lot with editing. Despite this video technically already being well edited enough, having myself talking over my character talking is actually, it's a lot faster with the editing process. Starting off with our first ever build, the Oracle build. Fun fact, a lot of these class sprites, they were drawn by Lara Deca. She was a Wikipedia member, and also one of my first ever fans I had on the Brave Little Jimmy channel. Now, the mysterious thing about the Oracle is that it hasn't been added yet to the game, despite me technically making this for the full release update, the best build tier list for the full release update, because it's good for the algorithm, and it's also good for, it's coming out soon. The Oracle relies on using magic items that control their spirit energy, which is like magic, but good magic. But it still damages you. No one's played as the Oracle, no one knows how the Oracle experience is, but if I'm going to guess what the Oracle experience is, I'm going to say that it's a magical warrior, and I've played as warrior, so I will know what warrior is. So let's just pretend that the Oracle, for now, is a magical warrior. And playing as an Oracle means you have to go through the same shit you would have to go through as a magical warrior. You get my shtick. Now, from what I've seen from the concept videos given by the development channel, the Oracle uses spirit weapons. There are currently 3 that are being added to the game. I don't know exactly how many more are going to be added, but there are currently 3 of the ones that are currently existing. The Eagle Patrimony is mainly supposed to be like a close-ranged weapon. You, of course, have the Spirit Blast, but But the special thing about the Eagle Patrimony is that it also acts as a shield with a shield wall ability. Now, if you would couple it with a Spirit Blast ability, which you can use infinitely with like 0 cooldown, and on top of that, you use a shield ability that's given to you via the Eagle Patrimony, and on top of that, the Spirit Leap ability would be perfect as a starter weapon. Now, this player spawns initially with the Eagle Patrimony weapon, and the Eagle Patrimony weapon offers a lot of really alright, not bad, decent spells. Very good spells. Amazing spells. So the Oracle would actually be very, very good for beginner players, which is very similar to Mage. Now, would the Oracle be best for PvE? Would I know? Have I ever played as an Oracle before? I mean, you'd have to do some exploration to obtain the next couple of Oracle weapons, such as the Orb. The Orb! A close-range explosion type weapon. It can act as a placed bursty explosion and can also do something completely new to Arcane Odyssey, which is summon a minion. So let's say a boss slash a mermaid in the Dark Sea is chasing you, and you hit him with the Shadow Clone Jutsu, and all of a sudden, oh, now there's 2 of you. What's the Atlachian slash boss gonna attack? Is it gonna attack you, or is it gonna attack the boss? I mean, the boss that you summoned. I mean, of course it'd be good for everything. It's a primary build. Now here comes the important stuff. Is playing Oracle good for PvP? I don't like PvP. In the Arcane Odyssey political spectrum, I'm very left-leaning. But let's make things easier for myself. Would Oracle be good for clan PvP? If you would look at the concept videos, a lot of the spirit weapons, the main abilities, are explosive, and they focus on explosions. Now, I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. here invested any of his points into attack size, but assuming he did not, the explosions for the Oracle spells would be actually really big. And if you top that off with a full-on attack size build, it would be perfect for PvP. You charge through the barricade, you head straight to the clan island, then you slap them with the magical wand's spirit rain ability. It rains absolute devastation, and on top of that with the explosive abilities. And who knows how attack size is gonna work on it. I have not read the development news updates on what they're gonna do if they're gonna change attack size. But let's keep attack size the same way it was during the Nimbus C update, with percentages and players sacrificing all of their defense in exchange for damage and attack size, because they're just gonna hit the enemy more than the enemy is gonna hit them. So, PvP. I mean, technically, the Oracle would be good for everything, which means I'm just going to move this to all-rounder. Alright, it's good for everything, but it might not be the best. Who knows? The full release update hasn't been added yet, so let's talk about something I actually know. The Berserker is the first ever build that I played as during Arcane Odyssey. My main file is a Berserker, and personally, I hate it. I hate playing as Berserker. It's the literal worst, especially when I recap what went into my head while going through the first story for the first time. It was absolute horror. Torture. I could not go through any bosses without another player helping me. Berserker is a body-dependent build, which means you don't rely on items, you rely on your own body. Players spawn in with the basic fighting style, and the shtick is similar to Arcane Adventures. You walk around the map, you do quests for certain teachers. The teachers teach you attack styles, and you use those attack styles to destroy your enemies. Currently, this bloke is using Iron Leg because he is kicking. Now, personally, would a Berserker be best for beginners? And I say, hell to the no! Berserker is the last thing you should play. You should, matter of fact, you should just go through the main story as a mage, and then you should use your stat reset to turn yourself into a Berserker. It's the most abysmal stat you should play as if you're a Berserker. Do not play as a Berserker if you're playing this game for the first time. I'm warning you. When you learn a new ability, you have to learn Mastery as well, which is the absolute worst function that was ever implemented into the PvE gameplay. Would a Berserker be best for PvE? That was before they nerfed the crash ability. Now, in the ancient long ago year of 2022, Berserkers would have a limited set amount of crash range, which meant they could actually use a crash as an extra leap, which would help them perfectly when it comes to parkour. It would basically be like their own form of leap, and it was beautiful. But the development had to ruin this by making crashes only work if you're in PvP with another player. And sometimes during PvP, the crashes, they will just, like, the range is very short if you're doing a PvE. The range is very limited now if you are playing Berserker and you're using Crash, which is the first spell you unlock when you're playing as Berserker. Look, it sucks for PvE. Is it good for bosses? No, it is not. Unless you're using Cannon Fist and pelting the crap out of the boss, you cannot grab the boss, you cannot use your combos against the boss. It sucks. But is it good for PvP? Yes, it is. It is one of the best stat builds for PvP. It is the #1 stat build for PvP. Clan PvP? Yes, you can use the Shockwave. See, Berserker actually has a large amount of movesets for particularly agile rival players, which is the environment that you are in when you're doing PvP. It's very claustrophobic, and everyone's moving around a lot because that's how it works. Right? They'll use their enhanced agility and they'll try and go around you, try and hit you, try and get you in your blind spot. For example, if an enemy is above you, you use the uppercut to get him. If the enemy is below you, you use the smash to get him. If the enemy is to the side of you, you use the shot ability to get him. Meaning it's perfect for not only clan PvP, but also dual PvP, with an attack speed build favoring for PvP, and an attack size favoring for PvP clans. You know, generic PvP build-up. But it's not an Arcane Odyssey video without the most iconic build, the Mage. Personally, my favorite sprite out of all of them. I think I met the person who was the model for this sprite. Mage is a body-dependent build, but a mage, you're kind of locked into the same old magic style, which is actually pretty alright. You get used to the magics. And the magics, they all work the same kind of-ish to a point. And there's a very limited amount of magics that a certain magic would synergize with, so it's alright if you lock yourself into a good build. Now, would a mage be best for beginners? It's the ideal build for beginners. What are you talking about? You put all your points into magic. You unlock a lot of good spells early on to the game. You unlock the leap spell as early as possible, which is very good for both beginners, completing the main story, and PvE, alright, going around islands. You have 2 magics if you have a major leap on one of your magic and 5 small leaps on your second magic. You can go both high and you can go both far in the air. I don't know if you're gonna understand my visualizations of it. Look, it's good for the Dark Sea as well. Is the mage best for bosses? I do not know. It's a bit weird. See, mages are only good against bosses if they constantly pelt the boss with blast spells. Other than that, the mage is extremely vulnerable to the bosses, and I don't know if it's best for bosses, honestly. Now, on top of that, is a mage best for PvP? A lot of proficient PvP users are actually mage. Matter of fact, Mage is the most controversial current build in Arcane Odyssey, especially when it comes to clan combat / attack size combat. See, mages can just play metal and abuse their attack size to absolutely annihilate their opposition. If you're a PvP user and you're going up against an attack size mage, oh, good luck for that, Buster. The reason why it's controversial is they're not very talented. All they do is just blast shockwaves. There's no combos, no clever tactics, nothing that when you fight someone and they absolutely kick your ass, you say, damn, that person is good. Nope, it's just a completely negative and horrible experience for both sides. Except for the mage. It's a good experience for the mage because you don't have to have talent to fight. But I'm not going to place it for best for PvP. I'm going to place it for best all-rounder alongside, of course, the Oracle. Because it's best for beginners, it's best for PvE, it's best for PvP, and it's best for PvP. So of course it would be a perfect all-rounder. That way I'm going to save more space for the next PvP-focused build. Now a warrior is a purely weapons-dependent physical build. While an oracle is a weapons-dependent magical build, a warrior is a weapons-dependent physical build. Which means there are a lot less status debuffs and status effects, and there's just pure bleeding. Compared to the oracle, the warrior actually has access to the most weapons out of any weapons-dependent build, because this is the only weapons-dependent build. It has a lot of weapons. Arcane Odyssey has a lot of weapons, and the warrior can use all of them. And honestly, it is the most well-rounded. If you're fighting a player, use a staff. If you're fighting a boss, use a bow. These weapons can both be attack size rounded and attack speed rounded. You're fighting a clan, use the whirlwind ability. You're fighting a boss, use a bow or something, or swords or something, I don't know. Unfortunately, warrior is also very controversial for its attack size build, because players would just invest all of their points into attack size, use a spear stabby ability that makes it a huge shockwave, and they would also absolutely dominate PvP using a method that pisses people off because it's not combo related. Now, warrior can actually be respected during PvP if they are combo focused and use a lot of grabs and use a lot of stabs, because very similarly to the Berserker, a warrior actually has a lot of movesets that fit PvP standards. Is it the best for beginners? No, it is a pain in the ass. Because remember, you have to collect the weapons. The weapons are obtained in chests, of course, but it's not the best for beginners. That's what matters. Is it the best for PvE? Not at the current moment. Warrior is the most abysmal for parkouring. The only thing they got is a couple of spells for the dual swords and the sunken sword, that's all. Now, is warrior good for bosses? Honestly, it is. Honestly, it is. It's a weapons build. If you use your weapons properly and you invest into the right builds, you can farm bosses perfectly with the warrior. And it's good because the warrior is the exact stat build you want to farm bosses for. So it's good for bosses, it's good for duels, and it's also good for PvP. It doesn't take 4 spaces, so it wouldn't be an all-rounder. But it's definitely a recommended file slot if you are an experienced player and you know how the game works. For a beginner Arcane Odyssey player, you should just play Mage. But once you understand how the story works, you should play Warrior next time. It'll be a completely new experience. And that's all for the pure builds. But there's a lot more space left, so I'm gonna have a lot more things to talk about. Introducing hybrid builds. Builds which mix and match 2 of the skill points that you can invest into your character, which completely changes how you naturally play the game as originally a full-on investment build. Pure build. The Paladin build is a magical oracle. You invest magic into your spirit weapons, and now you got magic in your spirit weapons. It's like a Conjurer, but with spirit weapons. Alright. Think about it. For PvP, you take the worst aspects of a mage, and you add spirit weapons to it. Remember spirit weapons? Boom, boom. Zap, zap. Make it rain. And what about the minion that you can summon with the orb? You did not forget the orb, did you? Of course, it would be perfect for clan PvP, the Paladin. And on top of that, the increased health and the regeneration. Oh, heavens no. Would a Paladin be the best for PvE? Definitely would. It would be perfect for PvP. I mean, you have an attack speed precision build to help you in Elysium, and you got the minion, and you got the shield wall ability, and you got the... I wouldn't say per se the spirit rain ability. No, not really. True question comes in when it's best for PvE, which would definitely be. You use the spirit weapons leap abilities, and on top of that, you use a 5 times the leap ability, you know, so you jump more and you go up less. It would be perfect for the Dark Sea. Would a Paladin be best for beginners? Yes, it would. It would actually, if you invested your points into magic, and then you... Well, that wouldn't be good for a first-time player. They wouldn't actually know how to invest their points. No, it doesn't go best for beginners. Would a Paladin be best for bosses? It would be good for bosses, but it wouldn't be the best for bosses. And of course, the Knight we cannot forget about. The model for this icon was the Exiled, which was a boss in World of Magic. Essentially, basically, the Knight is considered the worst build in all of Arcane Odyssey. You might think differently if you watch a Pre-Sconce video, because Pre-Sconce is pretty good at PvP, and that's why I'm putting it on top on PvP as duels. Because if you would think about it, they would have increased health, increased regeneration, and on top of that, precise attacks. Of course it would be good for PvP. Unfortunately, you don't have that many weapon slots. You can only equip, like, we'll say what? 1 real weapon and 2 spirit weapons. So it depends on what type of knight you want to be. You want to be a spirit weapon knight, or you want to be a regular weapon knight. But it would be very good for both regular PvP and clan PvP. But in terms of PvE gameplay, it wouldn't be very good, actually. I believe that the Juggernaut is going to make a complete comeback into Arcane Odyssey. It was also considered one of the worst classes in all of Arcane Odyssey, because it lacked in abilities. It got revived slightly during the Mistral update, the Port Mistral update, which was where they added Spirit Energy. But I believe that Juggernaut's gonna make a complete full 180 when it comes to being a good PvP build. Because you take the combos of a regular AoE Berserker, and you combine that with the AoE properties of Spirit Magic, the Juggernaut would absolutely dominate in a PvP field. Because grabs, explosions, and minions, and walls that you can make with your Spirit Magic, it's good. It's really good. But it's bad for PvE. Remember what I said about Berserker being abysmal when it comes to PvE? But it wouldn't be good for PvE bosses and exploration because, you know, you can't grab them. It'd be good, but it wouldn't be the best. And the best is what we're looking for. Because otherwise, this thing would be full already. Probably the most popular build in all of Arcane Odyssey, the Warlord. It's commonly seen as a very clunky and slow build that takes a lot of AoE, but it's very slow. But it's a common misconception. But it's still very slow and clunky and very big, so I'll put it in the best for PvP clan section. Because, you know, AoE. But very underrated. It would also be best for PvP because you don't have to just go for attack size. You can also go for attack speed. A lot of PvPers, they play as Warlord and they have boxing as their fighting style, which is much faster and much more knockbacky, which lets them combo people easier with both Berserker abilities and also with weapon abilities, which makes it perfect for PvP. Except I wouldn't know what PvP is. I'm an Australian. All of my games are 300 ping. Would bosses be good for a Warlord? Technically, kind of. Who knows exactly? But if you'd go really close to them and you'd hit them with a Great Axe Whirling Gale and they would deal 1,500 damage. And on top of that, if you don't have anything, and if you don't have any bulky heavy weapons, you can just use the bow and arrow. Yeah, weapons are really good for bosses. But you don't unlock the air step yet with Warlord, and your weapons, they don't really take you anywhere, so it's not good for PvE. Nor is it good for beginners because it's a hybrid build, which requires learning, which means you're technically not a first-time player. Warlock is one of my most favorite builds in all of Arcane Odyssey. It just excels at everything. It's valued in Elysium for its ability to both maintain distance and also grab enemies, which means good combos. It's good for clan PvP as well because it's magical, which means players can attack size. And it's also good for just playing in general, but I wouldn't assume it's the best, but it would be definitely good. So because this is my list and I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want with it, I'm gonna take Warlock away from the PvP section and put it in the all-rounder section. Just one Warlock in the all-rounder section. You will not understand what's going on inside my head while I'm making this. All right, but I'm going to tell you that Warlock is a really good all-rounder. Especially if you know what the hell you're doing with your build, which means it's not good for beginners because they don't know what they're doing with their build. The Conjurer is also one of the best classes in Arcane Odyssey, and it's really popular for PvP. So we're going to put that in the PvP section, of course. Good for Elysium, and it's also good for clans. Conjurers are popular for tending to focus less on their magics and more of their imbuements, the magics that they imbue into their weapons. And they would use weapons which are good for bosses. So I'm just going to put the Conjurer in the all-rounder section and forget about it. Because remember, it's good for everything. And for the final build, the most potential build, the Savant build. By putting your points into 3 different stat builds things. You could be a Mage, Berserker, Warrior. That's a Savant. A Savant does basically everything. And I gotta really hurry up this explanation because I really need a piss. Now, Savant is actually really good for everything. The player himself is canonically a Savant, a Lightning Savant to be exact. For the first awakening, they're able to learn a second magic / fighting style. There are less points that are needed to be invested into their second style that they learn onto the magic that they unlock from their awakening. I don't know exactly how to describe it. They're good if you want to do everything, which means they would be perfect for PvP, of course. Maybe-ish. I don't know. I've never played as a Savant before. And they're also best for PvE. They're best for bosses because they do everything, which means they're an all-rounder. Of course, you put it into the all-rounder section. Now, if I'm going to review this abysmal tier list that I made, of course, nice and simple purebred builds would be the best for beginners. The builds that are best for PvE, such as explorations, would be the Mage, the Paladin, and literally every all-rounder build because those actually count towards everything. Weapon builds would be best for bosses, such as Warrior, Warlord, Conjurer. All-rounders, mainly magical builds. Good for traversing the war seas in general. PvP ready, PvE ready, Dark Sea ready, boss fight ready. Technically the best for players who are looking for a lax experience, in my opinion. And of course, you'll notice that the best PvP clan builds are all attack size focused. And all the PvP for duels are attack speed focused. Can be attack speed focused. Can be attack size focused. But here we have it. My opinion on a tier list that isn't biased no matter what. Because I haven't said anything bad about any build. And if you're gonna drop a comment saying, hey, what about, what Oracle wouldn't be good for beginners? It's very confusing. It's weird. I've played the full release update. I know how it's like to play Oracle. Then you comment it down in the description below where no one's going to read your comment ever. It builds for the algorithm, and that's how tier lists work, and that's why I don't like them. And on top of the whole clickbaity nature that it is. This is my tier list. This is my video. This is Brave Little Jimmy signing off.